This is a short video on the topic of innovation. In the video, we just simply want to look at the definitions of innovation and look at what innovation is. Just talk briefly about what it is. There's a whole series of videos on this topic on the course, and each one will look at innovation from a slightly different angle and give a greater understanding of what innovation is about. But in this one we want to just look at definitions and talk generally about what innovation is. So let's start with that. What is innovation? Innovation is the process that creates something new, but it must have value. You can't just create something that doesn't have value. It must be valuable. It creates something new. It could be a new product, a new design. It really takes it into the province of the entrepreneur. The entrepreneur is alert to business opportunities and profit opportunities and can see where there is a niche in the market, a gap in the market, and can design a product or modify an existing product so it meets that need. But it must have value. As I said, it's a case where the product that's been innovated must have value. Innovation, however, is not really constrained to just products on the market. Production systems can be innovated. In other words, the production system can be carried out differently. Modifications to the production system are classified as innovations. So innovation involves opportunity identification. And it's very similar to our definition of entrepreneurship from classes on entrepreneurship that are on the course. The classic definition of the entrepreneur was put forward by Israel Kirzner. It's the one we used most frequently. And what Kirzner did was he defined entrepreneurship as alertness to profit opportunities. And here it is again. Innovation involves opportunity identification. There must be an opportunity to innovate. There must be a chance to innovate. The product must be such that it can be adjusted or modified, tweaked in some way to make it more acceptable within the marketplace, in which case the product has been innovated. But as I said earlier, it could be that there are opportunities for cost savings in the business if the production system was reorganized. That's an innovation. So it's the identification of those opportunities that's involved in innovation. It's also this idea of ideation, an idea. It's this idea of getting an idea or invention and getting it to development. So it's moving from a concept to development. And innovation is that process of adjusting from one position to the next. Adjusting the product, for example. The product may need modifications to make it more acceptable within the market. It will give the customers, the consumers, more value for money if it's tweaked in this way, let's say. And it's getting it from the current state into the new state that is the process of innovation. It's adjusting from what is right now to what is imagined. It also could involve prototyping. Sometimes when new ideas come up or opportunities for innovation arise, the business section involved may want to prototype it. They may want to make samples and test the samples to see if the idea was really good, if the idea was genuinely good, or perhaps it was just an idea and it wasn't properly thought through. There were issues associated, and so to avoid any issues they may go through some sort of prototyping. Production and marketing, or I should say production, marketing and sales. Now, all of these need to be looked at. The production system can be tweaked, let's say, some sort of innovation in the production system. Marketing could be more innovative as well by looking at different segments of the market, by changing the demographics that were targeted, perhaps moving it from one age group to another, or moving it from males to females, or different parts of the country. So it's innovating. It's making the product more acceptable, and looking at sales and how sales are managed and how sales are delivered. It could be through store outlets, or it could be online. How exactly are sales managed? Entrepreneurship only needs to involve commercialization. So entrepreneurship is about commercialization. It's about looking at this profit opportunity, whereas innovation is, in a sense, more practical. It looks at the product and works out, or attempts to work out, what can be done to make it better. Looks at the whole process of almost evolution from one stage to the next, and looks at what needs to be done. So it's not just jumping and talking about the final stage and putting it on the market, but it's the process of getting it to that stage. That is the process of innovation, the process of change, moving from one particular state to a final state. That is the process. It's what happens in between. We start with one state, we end up with the one which is ultimately marketed. But how do we get there? And how we get there is through a process of innovation. Now, the definitions, well, first of all, innovation is equal to invention plus exploitation. Invention is making something. It's coming up with an idea and making a product. But innovation is going the extra bit. Innovation is about making the product, which is the invention, plus selling it, plus exploiting the invention. In other words, making it commercial. So innovation is not just tweaking a certain process or changing a certain product, but it's making sure that that change has got commercial opportunities. It's a new way of doing things which is commercialized. That's another definition. It's a new way of doing things. It's a new way of working. It's a new way of living. It's a new way of going about our daily tasks. A new way. And it has commercial impact. It could be that it's reducing our costs of traveling to work, or our costs of production, of making something. It's an innovation if it reduces our costs, or gives us more satisfaction or more value for money, and it's new. That is innovation. The process of innovation cannot be separated from a firm's strategic and competitive context. So innovation it's ingrained within the company. It's part of the strategic and competitive context. Companies are constantly driven to innovate. They're constantly looking at ways of tweaking what they do, changing what they do, making it more acceptable in the market. Because if they don't, the product will become stale. The product will become outdated. And other companies, the competitors, will make new products, and in that way the company will lose market share and eventually get into financial difficulties. So innovation can't be separated out from the strategic and competitive context. Adoption of ideas that are new to the adopting organization. The innovation when it comes about, the company is adopting ideas that are new to it, almost by definition. The fact that it's innovation, it's moving from one state to another state, a better state. That is the process of innovation. Someone has invented something or changed something, and then the company sets about innovating so as to make that commercial. But these are new ideas. It's new to the business. So there is a process of learning that needs to be undertaken all the time by management. And they must have a certain psychological predisposition to change. They must welcome change. They must accept that this is the world in which we live. The world is not static. So it's the adoption of ideas that are new to the adopting firm. So there are some ideas about innovation, for slightly different perspectives of innovation. And that's all we're going to do in this very short video. So we'll just wrap that one up and say thank you for watching.